There was another name on the short list for the Nobel Peace Prize today. Malala, 16 years old, the youngest nominee. She was shot because she spoke up for the 31 million girls around the world who cannot get an education.
Co-organizers of the protest and local religious leaders spoke at the event, supporting the mission to defund Planned Parenthood.
Ms. Fiorina, I do want to ask you about this. In an interview last week in Rolling Stone magazine, Donald Trump said the following about you, quote, "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that, the face of our next president?" Mr. Trump later said he was talking about your persona, not your appearance. Please feel free to respond.
I don't need feminism because I believe in equality, not entitlements and supremacy.
Hi, my name is Isabelle Knapp, and I'm a feminist. I was raised in a very liberal community in Washington, D.C., so I grew up really believing in advocacy and equality. However, I didn't really know a lot about feminism. I just assumed because of the name it meant women should be more valued than men, and I didn't believe in that. I believed in equality. However, my junior year, I went to a diversity conference where I learned a lot more about what feminism really meant.
Hi, my name is Ella Schmidt. I'm 16 years old and I'm a feminist. The thing about empowerment is I think it kind of encourages girls to come together and be a community. Something I think of a lot with empowerment, just making women and girls aware of their own strength and power.
At this conference, I discovered what feminism truly was, and I realized that I had already been inspired by feminists in my everyday life. I just hadn't realized it. I learned that the true definition of feminism is the economic, political, and social equality of all of the genders, and that had been something I'd been advocating for my whole life. I even realized that my favorite character from Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, was a complete feminist. She just didn't fit any of the stereotypes that I had painted feminists to be. This discovery led me to ask the question, how are people empowered, and what does this empowerment have the potential to do?
I'm a huge reader, and a lot of that is my mom's influence. She sort of gave me lots of books when I was a kid. The female protagonists that I really connected to as a kid and still now were sort of doing was finding themselves and being confused. That's really what feminism is to me, is sort of this world where you can like figure out who you are and be confused and be candid with that. And I think that that was really powerful.
I'm Tanya Roth and I teach history mostly to 10th and 11th grade at my CES. I think without feminism, I don't think we'd have a lot of what we'd have today. I think we'd probably look a lot more like a lot of countries in the Middle East or more fundamentalist countries where they have more rigid parameters for women and no voting and very limited rights to what they can do. I'm hoping that even though that right now people are like, ooh, feminism, I'm not sure, I think that eventually what I'm hoping is we'll see even more women in government. I would love to see more women in politics because I think that really does change the conversation about what laws should we make. I'd love to see us get to a point where feminism is not, that people don't worry about the connotations, that they just go, yeah, of course, I'm a feminist, we're all feminists.
I also realized that there were other feminists in my life who I hadn't realized were feminists. The new Prime Minister of Canada, Prime Minister Trudeau, is an outspoken feminist and activist. In a recent speech, he emphasized the importance of not only being an advocate, but being active and outspoken in your advocacy.
And by the way, we shouldn't be afraid of the word feminist. Men and women should use it to describe themselves anytime they want. Men have to be a big part of this conversation.
Abby Wambach, the soccer player, is also an advocate for gender equality. She's just not the first person who would come to mind when you think of a feminist.
I think every day should be a day for women to be able to celebrate themselves. I think every day should be an opportunity for women to empower themselves.
I also learned about Malala Yousafzai, who was shot and almost killed by the Taliban for advocating for education for girls in the Middle East.
That what would happen to me, how would I feel if someone attacks me? But after that incident, when I was attacked, that fear just went away.
I couldn't believe that a girl my age, who was just from another country, was already such a strong advocate for feminism and truly a symbol of strength for girls everywhere. And this made me think, If just a few more people were empowered and a few more people were outspoken in their advocacy, where could this empowerment take us?
It's really empowering to see women supporting each other, and to see this kind of honesty and really to hear their voices being heard. And I think it inspires a lot of young people to like speak. What's happening right now, which is really cool, is women like Lena Dunham being open about her experiences. You know, survivors of abuse are coming out and talking about that. And I think that hearing women's stories is something that empowers women and girls like nothing else. So that's what the feminist movement has kind of done for me, is I've seen women use their voices, which is just incredible.
These people in literature and in the media are already people we look up to. Most people are already feminists, they just either don't realize it or don't want to be burdened with the taboo that surrounds the label. However, by actively advocating for gender equality, we have the power to empower an entire population and to really change the world. All it takes is one voice. Thank you.
I'm here to ask you, what is the impact you can have? How, what, where, when, and with whom?